Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for joining us here. Rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm going to think you're a hater. Coming up, hey, Sam Darnold and, the Peter Man. Also, Jason Garrett. This is the year that you don't want. But first, all right, so interesting for the NFL that this is the first weekend of the NFL season, and there's still not the biggest story coming off of that weekend. Now, part of what makes this interesting is that the NFL's been drowned in things that are not about the actual sport, like not the action that is on the field. That's been one of their biggest holdups. And now they're being drowned in the headlines, or had been, by what happened at the U.S. Open with Serena Williams, which is also only kind of sort of an on-court situation. Now, this isn't like a constant issue in the world of tennis, but this thing that happened with Serena is as fascinating as anything that I can think of. And unfortunately, the majority of the people who have been observing this, I don't think they are what they're doing, or at least what I think is taking place with it, is the issue has been flattened. And what I mean by it being flattened is, depending upon what issue is important to you out of that, I feel like most people have narrowed in on what would be one thing and then locked in from there on a story that has more levels than I even realized it had as I was observing it, like as I was watching the match. Now, as you may recall, we had the penalty situation with Serena. She got the first penalty because the umpire said that her coach was coaching. The coach said that he was coaching. Serena took that wildly personally, as though she was being accused herself of cheating and besmirching the game. After that, she got the penalty for smashing a racket, which is like a legit penalty. That's the sort of thing that happens. And then after that one, she got the penalty for what was termed abuse toward the umpire, and what the umpire did not like was that Serena called him a thief. I kind of wish she had called him a car thief, a la Pretty Tony in the Mac, because I think the car thief is a fantastic insult to deliver to someone. I can't even say after it happened. As it happened, Serena made reference to the fact that she felt as though men have been allowed to behave in the ways that she was behaving, and it was not a problem. Once that happened, this became, for a lot of people, a great big old macro issue about the things that women deal with at work, and women feeling as though they are not allowed to express their emotions or express their rage in the ways that men are allowed to express them. So I think we saw an op-ed from Billie Jean King on this topic. Of course, you've seen plenty of tweets from all kinds of people about this. And so that became one major issue that came out of this. But see, this is what jumped out at me like immediately about it, is that in 2018, there isn't very much about Serena Williams that is actually about Serena Williams. And so when she is going to wind up mired in some level of controversy, and I guess I use controversy for lack of a better term here, but if she winds up in one of these situations, how much time are we like spending actually pinpointing what is going on? Or does this become about whatever it is that Serena happens to represent to you? And I'd say in the last couple of years, Serena has come to represent even more to a lot of people because of the birth of her child, the things she went through in having this child, and what has taken place after the fact that she won the Australian Open, before it, when she was pregnant. Like, all those things are there. And so Serena, I don't want to say she's achieved a level of plaster sainthood, because I fear that sounds patronizing, but I do believe that for a lot of people, she is unassailable. And even for the people for whom she is not unassailable, there are not a lot of safe routes for you to go about in leveling a criticism at Serena Williams at this point, because she's done so much and commands such a level of respect just for her play, before we get to everything else, right? Just for her play. But then we add those other things there, and there really isn't a lot of room, I think, for certain people to feel as though you can criticize her for what she does or does not do in certain situations. Now, I am somewhat reluctant myself to talk about some of these things. And the reason is I don't live life as a woman. I don't live life as a black woman. I can only but so personally relate to a lot of what's going on. And I never want to wind up being the person that sits up in a situation and is the one that is dismissing a very real experience for people. And I did feel that a lot of the response that I saw from women when it came to Serena was as much about their own lives as it was about hers. But that's what happens when you become someone like Serena Williams in the place that Serena Williams is in, that it's not just about you anymore. It becomes about what you represent to other people. And so for a lot of people, they watch what happened with Serena and they're like, yo, that's how I feel at times, where I feel that somebody's doing something to me that's unfair. And I just want to do these things. And I just want to express my rage in this circumstance. That's where I am. I would stop and make the point on that one where, think about the word rage here. There are not many places for many people to express their rage. Rage as an emotion is not one that is exactly publicly cool, no matter who it is that you are. Anger, yes. I saw this termed even by people who were Team Serena on this one as rage. And look, I got my own personal, voyage in life that I have had. And I was a cat that when I was younger had, legitimate problems with controlling my temper, and especially problems with controlling my temper, while doing athletic things. But this applies for me to anybody who loses their composure in one of these situations. I, personally, myself, Bomani Jones, I don't have respect for that. There are very, very, very few things that can happen where you lose your composure in such a way that I personally am going to look at it and be like, hey, man, I see where you're coming from. No, man, I feel like you got to shake stuff off. I feel like maintaining your composure is your own individual responsibility. You're the one who has to do it. And somebody can be acting up in the way that they are treating you, but to lose your composure is for you, right? That's just how I happen to see it. So I don't know what could have happened that would have Serena lose her composure in the way that she did that would then make me say, nah, that's cool. Nah, that's not it. I've seen people make a comparison Gabe, you may have seen this. You've seen the people who have compared Serena pointing her finger at the umpire to was it Aaron Boone, managing the Yankees now, pointing his finger at the umpire and getting in that argument. Have you seen that? People send that meme around?
I have. There's a lot of other comparisons. I mean, there's also that cartoon in the Australian
we'll
paper.
get to we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But here's the thing for me. I knocked Aaron Boone also. You know what I mean? I can say with confidence that I'm not the person that's saying, well, it's okay for a man to behave like this, but women should be demure or anything like that. No, I'm not that dude. I also saw people make the comparison, but John McEnroe. But well, John McEnroe used to lose it all the time. And we're like, yo, nobody gave John McEnroe, permission to do that. Nobody said that was cool. You can go check the stories of Arthur Ashe and John McEnroe and the way that Arthur Ashe would respond in Davis Cup stuff to the way that John McEnroe behaved. And John McEnroe got himself point penalties and game penalties and stuff like that for the way that he behaved. That particular comparison doesn't hold, but at the same time, Serena was not anywhere near the level of misbehavior that John McEnroe would have. So even I feel like our comparisons that people are going for don't necessarily seem to fit what the circumstances and the situations were. And then, as Gabe pointed out, the next level that makes this difficult is if you do want to offer a measure of criticism towards Serena Williams, somebody always got to take it too far, right? Because when it comes to Serena Williams, it's rarely ever just about her. It is about what she represents to the person that is discussing her. And in that case, you talk about the cartoon from the Australian paper that had her with the big cartoon lips and jumping up and down and everything else, which, by the way, was not in line with what her behavior was even after things had gone terribly. That is not an appropriate comparison for what was going on here. So it becomes just hard as hell to talk about it because I don't know how many people are actually talking about what happened on the court. Because I feel like if you're really talking about what happened on the court, Serena has had a long stretch of problems at the U.S. Open. She's had these problems at this tournament, from the horrible calls in 2004 against Jennifer Capriati, which is in line with the Levon Hernandez game in baseball, is that poor level of officiating. The thing where she talked about wanting to shove a tennis ball down the linesperson's throat. Remember that one? We had that situation, that crazy foot fault call she got once where she lost a match. They called a foot fault on match point against her in that. And then we get to what is going on here. It's not as though she's only had, like, this is the first time something's happened at the U.S. Open. That seemed to be a gigantic part of what was going on with this issue, is that there's just more. I guess that's the thing for me, is that no matter the one thing that you want to point to that was going on with her, there was more. And once somebody gets to a place where it's not about who they are, it's simply about what they represent, people tend to miss out on what the more is and what the levels are to be discussed here. Like, I had questions about it where people said that the issue, where people talked about, well, the issue is that, men are allowed to behave like this and women are not allowed to behave like this. I personally don't watch enough tennis to be able to give you a really good comparison to the way she was treated versus other people. And I also feel like a lot of the people who are talking about this also don't watch enough tennis to have a full answer for what that is, because they're dropping in and watching it when it's Serena. Like, we do the same thing with Tiger Woods. We're not really watching that much golf, but we watch Tiger, right? I'm not knocking anybody for that. I just don't know if all those people with that level of criticism are versed enough to, like, really pinpoint what is going on in this case with Serena. I'm not sure that that's what it is. I'll tell you something else that I noticed while watching all this stuff with Serena. I could not find an article written by a black woman who regularly covers the tour. Like, if there is a black woman who fits that description, I'd love to know who it is, because I couldn't find it. And that was the perspective that I wanted more than anything else, right? Like, I wanted to step out of what is narrow about my perspective and how my perspective is narrowed by the privilege that I have as a man. I wanted to be able to back away from that and read this from the perspective of somebody who more personally not just feels, but also witnesses what it is that Serena Williams deals with. I myself could not find that. Now, to me, that's a huge problem. Like, when you stop and think about this, Serena Williams has been the biggest thing in tennis for a very long time now. And so to not have somebody who was able to impart that perspective in chronicling her career is a staggering indictment of this industry. The fact that it could be there, a huge indictment of this industry, that I would not be able to find that. Now, here's my read on it. My read on it is that coaches are sometimes called for doing too much during a match. They are often not called for the same thing. I would think in the finals of the U.S. Open that you'd find a way to be like, hey, talk to your man and tell him to chill out, because you don't need it to get where it's going to go. Talk to your man. Tell him to chill out. That did not happen. What happened was Serena was issued a warning. Now, Serena's thing is, I wasn't even looking at him, so how is that cheating? I don't disagree with that, because I think that's asking for too much out of anybody. Like, your man shouldn't be doing it at all. You are responsible for your man. If your man does that, then okay, there's a warning. But getting a warning for that isn't really the big deal here, at least not as of this point. After that, she got the thing for breaking the racket. Okay, that's red letter. Boom. You get whatever the penalty happens to be on that one. In that particular case, the penalty was a point, right? But it was a point because the warning had already been given before. So then we go further, and we've had all the, the different discussions that she had with the umpire, where she's telling the umpire to, demanding the umpire give her an apology. We had the thing before where she says, look, I don't cheat. I'd rather lose. I think that is a perfectly fair thing to say. She went to the place of, but, I would not cheat. I've got a daughter, and I want to show my daughter right from wrong and all of this, and I got the applause from the crowd. Calm down. Calm down. This ain't got nothing to do with your kid. People got kids lie all the time. Hell, people who got kids lie to their kids. People who got kids all the time lie. Like, I found that to be a bit overwrought when it went to that point. And the you owe me an apology thing, I thought was overwrought. You are a thief. I thought that was overwrought. Like, I thought all of that was too much. I didn't think any of it was a good look. I didn't think any of it was abusive either. I didn't think any of it was something that the umpire could not hear and either A, let slide, or B, say, look, that's enough. If this happens again, I'm going to have to hit you with a penalty. That, I think, is what is appropriate for you to do if a game penalty is on the line. A game penalty in the second set. If a game penalty is on the line, then that is what I believe would have been appropriate. But I also feel like we don't get to any of these steps in the process if we don't start with this coaching rule, which seems to be a bit ambiguous and does not seem to be evenly applied, which means that it needs to be dealt with, right? That, to me, is the part in this whole chain of events where everything changes. If Serena gets that thing about being abusive to the umpire and it only cost her a point, we're probably not talking about it after. We're probably not. Instead, we went from them being even in the second set to a place where Osaka was able to win the second set without having to be up a break. Right? That's where we wound up because of that right there. And I do think that that's a poor call from the for the umpire to make. That being said, I am not, myself personally, with the way that I'm wired and the life that I've lived, I am not in a position where I'm going to look at that man and explain to him why it is that he should let somebody point their finger at him and talk to him whatever way. Right? I can't knock somebody for deciding that they don't want to put up with that, because I wouldn't want to put up with that. None of y'all would want to put up with that. Right? I can't knock the man on his face for that, but that became way more than that because of everything that happened along the way. And if you start watching and seeing the responses that Serena had, one thing was, and I've seen a couple people write about this, Scott Price at Sports Illustrated made this point to somebody else. It was clear that she thought that initial warning had been rescinded when the guy told her, I know you don't cheat. Like, she thought it had been rescinded. It was not. And then it all went from there. But part of it going from there is the experience that she has had at the U.S. Open, particular to the experience that she has had at the U.S. Open. That's why she called the referee, which is the equivalent of calling the manager. That's part of why she did that and everything else, because of what her life has been at that tournament and the residual scars that have come from the way that she has been treated at that tournament. And it's worth noting that we got other tournaments we can point to with the way that she has been treated. And we've read enough over the last 20 years about the way that she and her sister have been treated on this tour. And it all came out at that moment. Perhaps human, perhaps understandable. Can't do it. Right? Is that unfair? Maybe. Can't do it. Simple as that. And so then she winds up losing. Now, here's something I want to point out, though. And this, again, my point that I've been making here is once it becomes about Serena, it's about what she represents and not about what she actually did. Now, check this out. I'm reading this now from The Guardian. Top tennis umpires are considering forming a union because they believe Carlos Ramos, the umpire, was, quote, hung out to dry, unquote, by the authorities during and after the U.S. Open women's final, despite upholding the rules and sanctioning Serena Williams. Many officials were also left angry with the fact that the International Tennis Federation took nearly 48 hours to defend Ramos on Monday afternoon, by which time the Women's Tennis Association and U.S. Tennis Association had supported Williams' claims of sexism after she was given a game penalty for her behavior during her defeat by Naomi Osaka. Now, do you think that this right here is just about what happened with Serena, or do you think that this is about what Serena represents? Because I think that this is about what Serena represents. And all of a sudden, they need to squad up about what took place there. Are you serious? Like, you really think that that was what was necessary here? Is that that the issue at play, or what's really going on, is the way that Ramos was treated? Really? Really? This ain't about Serena. Hardly any of it has actually been about Serena. Because if you talk about what is about Serena, what's what has happened here that goes on with her, then yeah, this gets to be pretty interesting. Like, I find the discussion of gender and the role that it played in this to be interesting, because here's what I don't know. And I'd love for somebody to answer this, because I don't know. If it was Maria Sharapova who had done these things, do you think she would have been penalized the same? Because I am inclined to think no. right? And I don't have an answer for that, but I am inclined to think no. And so if I'm inclined to think that no, that would not happen with Sharapova, it ain't just a gender situation, right? Like, I understand the argument that women feel where they say, you know, I don't feel as though I can express my anger at work the same way that men do. I don't feel like I can express my anger the same way some of these other men at work do either. But what I don't want to do is dismiss the experience of these women. I don't want to dismiss what they see when they witness this. I don't want to dismiss how they feel. But that's my question. And I think that it's a fair question because I felt like a lot of the things that women said that they noticed while watching this and the things that kind of hit them and kind of not triggered, but, you know, like it resonated with them would be a better way to put it. Like I personally have felt some of those things. And I don't want to be the dude that's out here like, well, this be happening to me too. But I do want to better understand like what took place there. Because I do feel as though, and this is a guess, that we could probably find examples of other women speaking to an umpire in a very similar way and not being penalized in the way that Serena Williams was. But I just wish for people on all sides of this matter, if we could find a space to have one of the most fascinating athletes that we've ever seen to be able to talk about the things that happened with her and actually like have them be about what happened in that moment with her, right? Because there's a level of criticism that I might be reluctant to offer Serena in this because I don't want to get lumped in with these clowns. And these clowns are everywhere. These clowns, like the guy that did that cartoon, for example, that clown. I ain't in the boat with him. I don't ever want to be in the boat with him. But I also don't want to be in the boat that says that it is okay to be walking up on people and talking to them like that. I don't care if you're in the heat of competition or not. I'm not going to be the one that says that's cool. It'll never be that. But I'm also not going to act like that was the end of the world. I'm not going to act like her talking to him like that was the end of the world. I thought she went far. But, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world that you can possibly say about somebody. It's not. But here we stand, and guess what? She's going to be coming back to the U.S. Open next year, in all likelihood. And let's see what happens. And let's see what happens with this with the umpires, where they say they feel like they need to have a union. And now, let's see how it is with the umpires in the ways that they are going to treat her after this, as all this stuff goes down the line. Like, let's see how all of this goes. And, oh, yeah, congratulations to Naomi Osaka. She kind of won the U.S. Open. Gabe, did you watch the match?
I did.
Look, I saw that match, and I was at the Open for the semis. So I saw Serena win her semi, and then I saw the first set of Osaka against Keys, and Osaka's a monster. Woo! Like, I was watching that match like, ooh, Serena might have some problems. And I think that Serena was being outplayed. Even in that second set where she brought it back, I thought she was being outplayed. Like, I don't think that was a match that she was ultimately going to win, because Serena had that, you know, that thing where the screamers like, okay, I'm back on track. And Osaka was like, okay, I never left track. Like, here I am. You back on track? Cool. We've been here waiting on you to get on the track because I'm on this. I'm right here. And she seems to have her own fascinating story in the way that she's handled herself. And I'm not talking about handling herself relative to this event. I'm just talking about handling herself generally. It's been really interesting to watch. She seems to be pretty endearing. There's some fascinating identity issues that come with her that I'd love to see people talk more about, as there's a great emphasis on her being from Japan, kind of discounting the fact that her father is Haitian. I mean, you know, which makes her Haitian. And I mean, she's pretty obviously not simply Japanese. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that went on with that. There was so much that happened to be there. But as an industry, like media-wise and all of this, I felt like we demonstrated ourselves to not really be the best equipped to discuss something like this, because we flattened it. We flattened it. So many of us took whatever the one thing was that we thought was important, and then we rolled that out. Like, boom, that was the thing. Like, it would be not the equivalent, but for me, where maintaining your composure is a very important thing. If I was just like, only thing that matters here is maintaining your composure, right? You got to maintain your composure. No, you can't just look at that. You can't simply look at the macro issues of race and gender. You can't simply look at the fact that it was the U.S. Open. You can't simply take this and make a comparison to some man in the way that he behaved in the tournament. It's all there. Every single bit of it is there. So much of it is there that could be on Saturday, and I'm recording this on Tuesday. And we still got things to talk about. There's still matters to discuss in this one. And who knows? maybe in a few more days, all of us will be able to get to the matter of discussing how well Naomi Osaka played. But you know what? I'm guilty just like everybody else is on that front. Like I've laughed with people this weekend about what I found to be the irony of people being like, this really marred Naomi Osaka and her victory while not actually talking about the victory. You know what I mean? Like we've all done that to an extent. We're like, man, it's really messed up what this was for her. Anyway, back to talking about Serena. We're all there because in tennis, Serena ain't a star. Serena the sun. Everything orbits around her. And in a larger world sense, everything orbits around her. And sometimes the sun's so hot you can't get close enough to see what the particulars are. But this is a sun that we can get close to. We can get a little closer to it. We can see what is going on here. And what went on at the U.S. Open was one thing. And that one thing was everything. All right, we'll be back in a second to talk about Sam Darnold's night. But first, football season's finally underway. And if you play fantasy football, the odds are you already hate your team and you wish you could draft again. On FanDuel, you get to draft a new team every week. Plus, FanDuel has never been more fun or easier to play. If you're not a fantasy expert, then FanDuel is clearly the place to play. FanDuel has something for everyone, and there are more ways to win than ever before. FanDuel now has a tool called Guru to help you pick your lineups so you can make your picks smarter and feel more confident going into game day. They've made it easy to find your friends and challenge them to play head-to-head contests for cash or bragging rights. All the excitement surrounding FanDuel this season, and new users get a $20 bonus when they make their first deposit on FanDuel. Come play with me. FanDuel.com/Bomani. All right. Interesting weekend of NFL football. Gabe, you're a 49ers fan. Your man, Jimmy Garoppolo, hey, how you feel about his performance?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see if he earns that contract as the year progresses.
That's a good way to put it. That sounds like you're a little displeased with what you saw.
Well, I mean, I wasn't exactly pleased with what I saw, but they were playing like a Super Bowl contender on the road, and it was week 1, and he was missing some weapons out there, so I'll give him a pass.
Who was missing?
Well, he was missing Marquise Goodwin for like most of the game, and then they also lost their star running back like a week before the season. So
Got it. Garoppolo, my thing with him is I don't think we saw that much from him last year. Like I think people got really charged up about not that much from him last year. And so this is the year for me where we're going to see. It's similar to me, like, granted, Garoppolo had been in the league longer, but like with Dak Prescott, last year was a year that we were just going to have to see what it was. I mean, I've been doing this quarterback thing now with these youngsters for long enough to know what you do in year 1, I can't really, like, carry on. What you do in the game in year 1 or year 2, I can't carry on. Like, we need a bigger body of work. And so we're going to see with Garoppolo, for example, now that people have had some time to watch him, we're going to see what it is that they come up with. And that's part of why I'm tempering my expectations of Sam Darnold in spite of the fact, yo, Gabe, he looked good last night after he threw the worst pass I've ever seen.
I mean, I didn't see the opening of the game, and I was aware that the game had started and then got an alert like not even 30 seconds later saying that Darnold threw a pick 6 on his first pass, essentially. And
the alert did not show you just how bad it was. It was awful, awful, awful. And yo, man, then he got that thing together. Now, they the Jets, so I know better than to get no hopes up about anything that happens. But he looked to be good. They made the right decision. If he was capable of playing like that in week 1, then they made the right call in trading Teddy Bridgewater, and they made the right call in starting him. I am not one who believes in rushing to start a rookie quarterback. I just don't see the point. Nothing about that rookie quarterback and the success of what it is to have him is going to be about year 1. Right? Like, that's going to be about down the line. This is a long-run project if you take a quarterback number 3 in the draft. It's long-term. Ain't no need to be pushing and hurrying up to get it done. Like, that's the way that I feel it. But then I saw him, and I was like, oh, yeah, he should be playing. Yeah. Absolutely. He should be playing. And then the Lions, of course, were out there looking like boo-boo. Like, just flat 100% boo-boo. But no. Darnold looked really, really, really good. None of the other rookies got out there to start, right? Like Lamar Jackson got out there because of the demolition that was taking place in the Ravens-Bills game. It looks like, though, pretty much all these cats are going to get out there. Now, that Cleveland-Pittsburgh game was going on in a torrential downpour, but Tyrod did not look great. Baker Mayfield will be starting there before the end of the season, obviously. Sam Bradford looked like boo-boo against Washington. Josh Rosen is going to wind up out there playing for them. If Joe Flacco looks the way that he looked, then Lamar Jackson's not going to start there anytime soon, which, by the way, probably best for Lamar Jackson. And then gave this Josh Allen, and he's going to have to start at some point. Not because he should be starting. But did you see the Peterman?
Couldn't get much worse.
Well, except for, the thing with the Peterman is, I don't think it could get much worse, but most of us could say that the Peterman had a worse game in his first NFL start. But Gabe, I've seen numbers to indicate that the Peterman was actually worse in this game than he was in that one.
The one piece of analysis that I found kind of interesting about Peterman is that he's being treated as if he's like a vet QB or like a savvy vet that like, oh, well, we got to go with the Peterman before we bring in the rookie.
Yes.
But it's like Peterman's had like 3 games underneath his belt, and
yes.
he was a rookie like a year ago.
Yes. But I think here's their problem, I think, that they have, and this is why they traded McCarron. But I think McCarron was the guy for them to keep, even though I don't think very much of A.J. McCarron. I've at least watched A.J. McCarron, start a playoff game before. And when he started that playoff game, he did not look as bad as the Peterman has looked playing in any of these other games. I thought the Peterman was the guy to let go. What I can't figure out is why they maintain such a level of optimism about the Peterman after seeing what he was in those last 2 starts. That's what I don't get. Well, hold on. There might be something here. Really? You think so? Because I didn't think there was nothing there when he was at Pittsburgh. What exactly is it that they thought they had? Here's what they think they have, though. They think they have a first-round pick who is absolutely not ready to play right now. I looked at the way that Nathan Peterman played in that game, and all I could take from that is, if this is your starter, you really don't think that Josh Allen needs to be playing. That's the only conclusion that I could draw. And so they come off that game. The Bills are still saying that they're not sure which quarterback is going to start the next game. And look, if that's what they're telling you, then what they're saying is, we just can't put Josh Allen out here. They don't want to overtly come out and just say that. Look, he's not ready. They don't want to do that. Say what you want about Hugh Jackson and the way he's handling things with Mayfield, but I think the smartest thing he did was come out when that started. And he said, hey, man, he's not going to start. Let's not even get these questions here. He's not going to be the starter. We're not going to evaluate this every week. He's not going to be the starter. And so if Tyrod plays poorly or down the line or whatever, yeah, maybe that will come up. But at least you started off with, this is our plan. They don't seem to have a plan in Buffalo right now. What they did was they had a quarterback last year who wasn't great, but was decent. And they decided that his ceiling of decent wasn't enough for them, so they needed to get out here and they needed to go find somebody else. And when they tried to do that, they put in the Peterman. Peterman threw 5 interceptions in the first half of a game. Take the Peterman out of there. They put Tyrod back out. Then they get to the end of the year and they trade Tyrod away because they've just decided the ceiling is there. And so what happened? The Browns got Tyrod. You know what the Browns looked at Tyrod and said? The Browns looked at him and said, you know what? This will be a pretty good guy to hold the fort down for about a year or however long it takes before we bring Baker Mayfield in, right? No, this guy isn't our future, but let's just hold on, see how it goes, and then roll from there. Whereas Buffalo, for whatever reason, looked at him and was like, we got to get this dude out of here. We just can't have this. And so what they get stuck with? They got stuck with the Peterman and now Josh Allen, who's just 100% not ready to play. All right, there's just no way around that. He's just not ready to play. There's a possibility that somewhere down the line he will be ready to play. But you are never going to convince me that the dude that was honorable mention all Mountain West last year was suddenly going to be ready to play. How much sense does that make? The dude makes honorable mention all Mountain West. You don't even know if he's ready to play in the Pac-12. You don't know. And so what's going to happen for the Peterman, Gabe? They're going to send him out there to get embarrassed again. It ain't his fault he's not good enough, but they're going to keep giving him every opportunity to not be good enough. Let me look on here and see who it is that they're going to lose to next week. They are going to lose next week to, Gabe, they got the Chargers.
Yeah, not a good look for the Peterman.
I don't know. They might have a chance. I forgot what happened the last time they played the Chargers. But that was where he threw the 5 interceptions. They got the Chargers at home, a 1 o'clock kick. You know that tends to be rough on the teams from the West Coast. Maybe, just maybe, they can find some way to. Nope, they just blew it. They just blew this. There's no other way to look at this. They just blew it. I had a dude, you see this last week, man? Some dude came at me on the internet because I've talked about the Peterman, and he was like, would you joke about the Peterman if he was black? I'm like, have you ever watched him play? like all these white folks out here making jokes about this dude, and you gonna come look at me? What? Are you serious? Yeah, we got jokes about the Peterman. I joke about the Peterman primarily because his name is Peterman, and I like to call him the Peterman. And in fact, that's really the only joke I tell about him is that he's the Peterman. That's it. That's the only one. That's it. That's all. And by the way, I say this for the Peterman. At least they don't think the Peterman's the future, Gabe. What'd you think about Derek Carr last night?
Yeah, well, he's going to have to be John Gruden's guy. Because he's there, and he's got a big contract, and they chose, paying him money over paying Khalil Mack money.
They did. Like this idea, we can't pay two guys $20 million a year. That means you should have traded the one that you're currently paying $20 million a year. Like, I felt like you probably could have traded Derek Carr and gotten something just because of the quarterback scarcity. Now, maybe they didn't have another answer for what it was that they were going to do at quarterback, but the reality is Derek Carr just isn't that good. He's had some stretches where he's put up decent numbers, but Derek Carr gets out there. I don't think Derek Carr is terribly dissimilar from Alex Smith, except for the fact that Alex Smith doesn't turn the ball over as much. Like, it's not there. I think for a lot of NFL fans, Derek Carr is the sort of dude where you listen to what other people have had to say about him without actually watching him play. And so you decide he must be a decent quarterback because all these other people are saying that he's a decent quarterback. I ain't seen no decency, bruh. I saw profanity last night. And you saw the worst of Derek Carr, which is the dink and dunk. I also, by the way, did not see an offensive scheme that seemed to merit a guy being paid $10 million a year to be a head coach. Did you see that?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, Gruden got out there and had the nerve to tell Lisa Salters Khalil Mack did not want to be a Raider. Khalil Mack asked y'all for a contract extension. He didn't want to be a Raider at the prices that you were paying, but he wanted to be there. And so now they've made this call. Carr's going to be the dude. Now, Carr better watch his back. Here's why. There's a reason why John Gruden could feel comfortable trading Khalil Mack the way that he did. And that's because John Gruden has a $1 zillion contract that lasts for a bunch of years. So John Gruden could be like, yeah, we can get rid of the best player we have right now to get a couple number one picks. Why? Because John Gruden doesn't have to worry about the right now. Everybody else is out here scared to death for their jobs in this league, and they got to worry about the right now. Gruden does not have to worry about the right now because of the magnitude of his contract. He doesn't have to do that. Right? Now, fast forward to Derek Carr. Raiders probably need to be looking for a quarterback. Most teams don't realize that, but I think they might because John Gruden has no attachment or loyalty to Derek Carr in spite of all the things he's saying about Derek Carr being the best quarterback he ever coached, which indicates that he never coached a good quarterback before. Sorry, Rich Gannon. John Gruden's the one who said that, not me. But Gruden, I saw something that says that they can get out from that contract next year with like a $5 million cap hit. If they want to, they can get out with a $5 million cap hit. If Carr isn't the dude, then what? Now, understand this about John Gruden. When we learned this from his previous stint in the NFL, if there's anything John Gruden loves, it's a mediocre quarterback. He loves them. And see, the reason that guys like him love mediocre quarterbacks is they love quarterbacks that they can tell do what I say, and the brilliance of the system will shine through. They don't want somebody to go out there and make things happen. They want people to go out there and run their offenses. And I think that Gruden thinks that he would be able to find somebody to run his offense. After all, once again, his offense, Rich Gannon became an MVP caliber player playing in that offense. So, no. Carr needs to watch out. That would probably be the safest way for me to put it. He needs to watch out. This is going to be a year to watch with a lot of these quarterbacks because I feel like, and Gabe, you let me know if I'm tripping here, I felt like week 1 was marked more by the quarterbacks who played poorly than the quarterbacks who played well.
I think people are just waiting to kind of feast on all the QBs that are not playing well, right? They're just waiting, watching, and thinking about who's behind them, who's going to, what kind of player movement is going to happen.
Yeah, well, think about how many I think I could off the top of my head start rattling off quarterbacks and think about, how many of them, how many guys coming from the weekend, what registers is how well they did not play. The first game of the year with the Eagles and the Falcons, both quarterbacks, it really registered how well they did not play. It registered how well Deshaun Watson did not play. Bradford would be another guy that we talk about there. We just talked about Derek Carr. Matthew Stafford, another guy where it really registered how well he did not play. Ben Roethlisberger, another guy where in watching that, it really registered how well he did not play. I feel like there's some other guys that we could probably point to that were in a similar boat. And then we had Ryan Fitzpatrick, who looked like a video game. Be careful, guys. I'm telling you right now, you got to be careful about this with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick is really, really, really good when the job doesn't belong to him. But you mess around and let him lock in, oh, man, he'll go back to being what he was, Ryan Fitzpatrick. That was the thing with Nick Foles. Nick Foles, you know what Nick Foles was? Nick Foles got out there and looked just like the Nick Foles that he used to be. Nick Foles did not become a new player. That is what we got out of that game. Matt Ryan had that great MVP year, and what have we seen since then? Matt Ryan did not become a new player. These guys just did not become new people as a result of everything that went down. But while we say this about those and they didn't become new and everything else, there is one team that gets to be as excited as they want about all this, and that is the Jets. And guys, let's just let them be excited until they're not. Because something's going to happen. That being said, I said something was going to happen all year long last year, and then the Eagles found a way to win the Super Bowl. Oh, by the way, how about them Cowboys? Cowboys look bad. Cowboys look bad. Cowboys look bad. Here's my thing about the Cowboys. I can keep this quick, and this is what's going to be interesting. I think earlier this year on the podcast, we talked about kind of the singularity of the job of being quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, the visibility of the being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But what has been interesting now over the last few years that I feel like we haven't talked that much about is that same visibility should apply to being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, right? And it is rare that someone has as high profile a coaching job as the one that Jason Garrett has and gets to stick around as long as Jason Garrett has without producing any receipts, right? Jason Garrett has had 2 really excellent seasons as head coach, 1 really bad season as head coach, and, a lot of mediocre. That's what it's been for him. A lot of mediocre for there. And this, by the way, while the league and people who watch it have commented for a very long time on just how predictable and boring and mediocre their scheme is. I don't have any idea what Dak Prescott is or is not. And the reason that I can't tell that is because everyone I talk to that I trust makes it a point to mention how bad the scheme is. I don't know how good it's reasonable to expect Dak Prescott to be when it seems like everybody and their moms knows what the plays are. And that's how you wind up with Dez Bryant just sitting over on the sideline tweeting all the time about it. Because Dez Bryant is like, yeah, I knew this. I've been trying to tell y'all how mediocre these schemes are. So how long do you get to be Jason Garrett and be mediocre and keep that job? That's what I want to know. How long do you get to do that? Now, we understand a big part of why he gets to keep that job is because, Jerry likes him. Every year somebody's talking about Marvin Lewis. Why is it that Marvin Lewis gets to keep his job? Because Marvin Lewis gets along with Mike Brown, and there aren't that many people that know how to get along with Mike Brown. That's how that winds up happening. So maybe this is the same thing, but Marvin Lewis doesn't coach the Dallas Cowboys. Right? Marvin Lewis does not live under that level of scrutiny. Jason Garrett does. And they're going to have to figure this out one way or another because, look, their defense played all right. I don't think you can make the argument that the defense lost the game for them. They only gave up 16 points. They barely scored the 8 that they got. So what you got? What the rest of y'all got? What are y'all going to do on this one? Because this feels like the first year that the whispers that Cowboys fans have had about Jason Garrett are going to get loud. They're going to get loud. They got a game next week against the Giants. If they lose that game to the Giants and go down 0-2, oh man, it's going to get loud. It's going to get real loud. And I'm not saying I'm wishing it for Jason Garrett, but I will say, loud around the Cowboys. Here's my question for you, Gabe. You tell me if you know this. Who would you say is the Cowboys' number one wide receiver?
To be honest, I don't know, man.
That's what I'm like. I'm looking at the names of guys that caught passes, and I'm asking, like, I don't know, with looking at the names, I don't know who's number one. Cole Beasley, Deontay Thompson, Allen Hurns, Terrence Williams. Are we saying Allen Hurns is the number one receiver? I don't even know if they have a number two receiver. Like, that's what I'm talking about, where I don't know what to do with Dak. I don't know if they got a number one receiver. I don't know if they got a number two receiver. I don't know anything that they have here. But I know this. They're going to have a new coach next year. Because at some point, look, Jason Garrett been the coach there since the middle of the 2010 season. That means that this is like year 9 in effect for him. How you get to keep this job that long where, unlike Marvin Lewis, where I think there's some real structural issues that make it difficult to win in Cincinnati in the way that people are talking about. This is year 9. They've won one playoff game. One playoff game since Jason Garrett got there. How long you think that's going to stand up? Because I feel like now is the time that it's got to end. And the big reason why it's got to end, as much as I don't have the answers for whether Dak Prescott's that dude for them, I don't feel like the Cowboys have the answers either. And they need to do everything required to figure out what those answers are. It is easier to find a decent head coach than it is to find a decent quarterback. And so you get rid of this not so decent head coach in order to make sure that you actually have a decent quarterback. We'll be back with If You Haven't Heard, but guys, 66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Your hairline's slowly making that move back. By the time you notice, it's already too late. Why do guys turn to weird solutions or just not do anything where they can turn to medicine and science? For Hims.com is the solution. A one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness, all for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you to real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. There's no snake oil pills, no gas station counter supplements, no waiting room, no awkward in-person visits to the doctor. Save hours by going to Hims.com. It's so easy. Answer a few quick questions. A doctor will review and can prescribe you products that are shipped directly to your door. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to forhims.com/Bomani. That's FORHIMS.com/Bomani. Forhims.com/Bomani.
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. No need for the social media feeds. We got you. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, Bomani, story number 1 of the day comes from business.
This is Sasha Ingber from NPR. Last week, Tesla stock took a hit after its CEO, Elon Musk, also took a hit. The electric car company's stock fell more than 6% after Musk went on a podcast on Thursday and took a blunt that the host, comedian Joe Rogan, described as marijuana inside of tobacco. I mean, it's legal, right? Musk said before taking a puff. The incident follows other, shall we say, unpredictable acts that have rattled shareholders. Musk accused a British diver of pedophilia after the man helped rescue boys who were trapped in a flooded cave in Thailand. He also told analysts on an earnings call that they were asking boring, bonehead questions. Meanwhile, top executives have ditched the company, like Chief Accounting Officer Dave Morton, who said the level of public attention on Tesla and its pace caused him to reconsider. But it probably didn't help that Morton started one day before Musk announced on Twitter that he was considering taking Tesla private at $420 a share. Some people even wondered whether that number, 420, was meant to reference marijuana culture. Musk insists that weed isn't helpful for productivity. It's like a cup of coffee in reverse, he said in the podcast, which might just slow down that whole plan to build a Hyperloop or colonize Mars.
I have to say, when he said that thing about weed not being good for productivity and like the opposite of a cup of coffee, I am totally surprised that old Smoking Joe Rogan didn't hit him up like, well, actually, there's sativas and there's indicas. They do different things. Maybe if you just talk to somebody about the right strain, you can get what you need. Because you know that you know that cat, Gabe. The cats that hit you with that is from the earth. People love to say that. Ain't nothing wrong with it's from the earth. And I'm surprised that he did not get it is from the Earth lecture after offering that line right there.
Did you watch the video?
I did watch the video.
Oh, man. The thing is, too, is like when Rogan was like trying to explain what it was to Musk, he was like holding it away from his face, being like, yeah, man, I got this stuff, man. It's good stuff, man. It was kind of like a Cheech and Chong kind of moment. And then for Musk to act as if he didn't know what it was when he certainly is cued in on the culture, I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I think that, and from what I understand from people, it appeared that he was taking the smoke in his mouth but not bringing it into his chest and then just kind of blowing it out, which is a serious party foul. I'm a little surprised that Joe Rogan tolerated that because from what I understand, that'll get you kicked out the party, out the rotation.
I mean, it certainly resulted in like one of the greatest memes of all time, which is like him holding it and then just making that kind of funny face. At first, I was like, who is that? And then I was like, oh, crap, that's Elon Musk.
Yes, yes. By the way, clown show. Everything Elon Musk related at this point is clown show. I just can't find any way around it. Like we are way past talking about any of his cool products, and all we're looking at with him is clown show. Also, from what I understand, our Caucasian brothers typically don't smoke their marijuana in cigar paper in that way. Outreach. Yeah, look at Elon Musk trying to kick it like everybody, like the other people do. Way to go, buddy.
Story number 2 of the day comes from music.
This is Hillary Hughes from Billboard. So Meek Mill brought a bit of brotherly love from Philadelphia to Boston on Saturday night when he joined Drake on stage, completely shocking the audience and squashing the beef that's been simmering between both rappers since 2015. This is a really big deal. I mean, Drake was thrilled to see him, clearly. And when Meek launched into Dreams and Nightmares, it was, the vibe was ecstatic. Everyone in the arena was completely stoked about it, but none more so than Drake, who decided to share a picture of the two of them performing after the show. And he captioned it on Instagram. This really gave me peace of mind tonight. Healing and moving forward created one of the most electric and gratifying moments of my career. Meek Mill, I'm happy that you were home and that we could find our way back to our joint purpose. So who knows? I mean, maybe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Maybe this is potentially, laying the foundation for a great collaboration. Whatever it is, it seems like a fantastic beginning for the both of them. Looking forward to seeing what happens next.
So does this mean that the Drake Pusha T collabo is coming soon, or no? No, you don't think so? I'm just asking. One thing I'd like to note, by the way, there are many people with their theories that Drake's last album is basically a bunch of shots at Kanye, like over and over and over again. Shot at Kanye, shot at Kanye, shot at Kanye. So this Pusha thing, though, we just gonna let this slide? Like, I know that Jay Prince told him to leave that thing alone, but it's kind of hard to watch you diss the dude that rolled with the dude who dissed you, rather than the actual dude. Like, I feel like you need to let all that go. Like, if it's beef squashing, squash it with everybody, baby. Squash it with everybody, because otherwise it's gonna start looking a little phony.
The last story of the day comes from Tech.
Hey guys, this is Danielle Paquette. I'm a reporter for the Washington Post in Beijing for the month. I recently visited a warehouse in Shanghai. It's the size of 7 football fields, and inside hundreds of robots pack roughly 200,000 boxes each day and ship them to customers across China. Only 4 humans work in there, and they are babysitting these machines. I talked to one engineer about what it's like to be one of the only people in your massive workplace, and he said, quote, "I don't get lonely because of the robots." So this is an e-commerce warehouse for a company called JD.com. It's one of the biggest online retailers in China. This warehouse on the outskirts of Shanghai is one of the most automated in the world. Analysts I spoke to say it's a look at the future of manual work in China and beyond. Just a few people tend to these machines while most workers have been rendered obsolete. This company recently partnered with Google to take some of their technology into the United States. So we could be seeing similar setups on American soil at some point. The chief executive, a guy named Richard Liu, he's this famous billionaire here. He said recently, and I quote, "I hope my company would be 100% automation someday. No human beings anymore." Richard Liu was also recently tangled in a scandal in Minnesota, strangely. He was arrested on suspicion of sexual assault and was later freed to China. We don't know much details from his case, but police there say the investigation remains open.
I don't get lonely because of the robots.
Yeah, this story felt like so if you haven't heard, and so Bomani.
I don't get lonely because of the road. We're done, dude. Like, it's over. I'm trying to win a fight that's already been lost. That's all I got. I'm trying to win a fight that's already been lost.
The thing about this is that it's not like these machines have any personality or anything. So it's not like he's like, stroking R2-D2's head being like, hey there, buddy, I don't get lonely because I have you.
Yes.
Making all these beats and all sort of stuff to like, make me happy. It's just him and a bunch of cold steel.
Yes, that's it. Like, where is this going to go? Yo, you know what though? I guess he's looking at it like, I don't get lonely because I'm just glad I got a job. Look around here. They hire a number of robots. Hey, this is Bomani. You have reached the right time voicemail. Say whatever you want. Get creative with it. But this is your place to talk back to the show. So talk back. Peace. All right. And today we are allowing you guys to get your advice from DJ Mike Hitman. Mike, before we get to the voicemail advice, you got any advice for your Dallas Cowboys?
Fire that gingerbread coach. Fire that gingerbread coach and get rid of the quarterback. He's a one-lick wonder, like Little Vanilla. Get rid of him.
You get rid of Dak, too?
Get rid of Dak, too. He proved to me, Bo, he's not a quarterback. That's why he went to Mississippi State and should have went to Alabama. Roll Tide!
All right, Gabe, what's our first call?
All right, our first call is from Graham in Denver.
Hey, what's up? This is Graham from Denver. I am a senior in college, and the career fair is coming up next week. So I was wondering if Mike had any tips on how to find a gainful employment for the rest of my life. All right, love the show. Peace.
Now, Bo, you got to repeat what he just said, because I know he in Denver high attitude, but his voice is too deep.
Yeah, he said he's about time to start looking for a job and asked if you had any advice for him getting gainful employment.
Yeah. Find a computer and then put your resume on it and put it out to everybody out there. Try where you at. Try the local school. Try your local bar. Don't try the streets because you ain't going to get far. Do the right thing.
Now, Mike,
go to a real job. Try IBM. Try Google. Try ESPN. Try the right time. Maybe you might get hired.
Mike,
that's all I can tell you.
Mike, remind people, what was your first job?
Oh, Bo. I was the original. He ain't going to want to do that. I was the original Jack in the Box. Right down in Alabama on Boulevard, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. I was the original Jack in the Box. $3, though, back in those days. 1983 all the way to 89, I was making money. I was the original Jack in the Box in the suit. So you want to do that? You might get paid. Be a mascot. That's good.
All right, Gabe, who we got next?
Our next one comes from Tucker in Oakland.
What's up, Bo and Mike? It's your boy Tucker from Oakland, and I need some advice from Mike Hitman. So I got two ladies, in my life right now. One that's been around for a couple of years, she holding me down, and one that's been around for maybe, past couple months. I like her a lot, but the one that's been holding me down for a while, man, she's starting to get on my nerves. Things is going wrong in a lot of ways, and, I'm to blame for a lot of that, but, things are going wrong. My new girl, she's doing everything right, perfect for me, a good fit right now, but she stays on the other side of the country. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. And, Mike, if you got any advice, man, holla at me. I need your help, brother.
You just answered it. But he just answered it right then and there. One is on the other side of town, one is in town. You keep the one with the best benefit. But if you were smart, keep both of them. They don't have to know. One on one side, one on the other side. But my good advice was find the one with the best job and the best benefit, and the one going to take care of you. Because apparently the new girl doing the best job, and the other girl get on your nerves. So I get rid of the other girl, keep the new girl. Have a good one.
Hey, man, Mike, keep it simple, Gabe. We got one more.
Yeah, we got one more. The guy didn't say where he was from, but here he is.
Love the show. I got a question for my boy, Mike Hitman, the DJ of all DJs. So I'm going to a wedding with some old college buddies I haven't seen in a while. What do I say when I'm not balling? I want to act like I'm doing well, but I'm kind of just
hanging in there. So how can I stun on all my friends and former colleagues? Peace.
Oh, that's a good one, Bo. I like that one. Just like a wedding crash. Find the one that look good, got a good job, play like you with her. And when you with her, strike up a good conversation. Make it seem like you with her. And then all your fellas will not ask any questions. So all you got to do, play like you with her, talk to her, and offer everybody a drink, and then you're all good.
There it is, Mike. Mike, when's the last time you DJ'd a wedding?
Bo, I was just at a wedding last week. I DJ'd a wedding. And, Bo, you know what the one thing about the wedding? He didn't love her. See, that man, that father spent all that money. And I said, I told her, Pop, she'll be through in 3 months, 90 days. I can count it. She ain't going to be with him.
Damn.
Too much money, Bo. She'll be divorced in 90 days. Because you know what, Bo? He's from the hood. Anything come out the hood don't stay long. You know what that mean, right, Bo?
What that mean, man?
That mean he ain't never had nothing in his life and he having fun. And when it's all over with, Bo, he'll be back in the hood. Have a good one, Bo.
All right, Mike. You take it easy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on The Right Time. We're back to doing this thing twice a week. My man Gabe Bassane handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Thanks to you guys for listening. Thanks to DJ Mike Hitman for coming with his advice. Thanks to FanDuel and Hims, our sponsors. Also, thanks to Sasha Ingber of NPR. Check out her story on Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and weed. Also, check out Hillary Hughes. Thanks to her. She's a contributor at Billboard for her story about Drake and Meek Mill squashing their beef in Boston. Also, thanks to Danielle Paquette of the Washington Post. She's based in Beijing. Check out her story about the Beijing factory where there's one dude just around a bunch of robots. All right, we'll be back. Talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.
Thanks for checking out The Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast.
You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Right Time
with Bomani Jones.